Hello, Goose and I, on behalf of Let a Woman Speak, would like to take you through the latest consultation on the Gender Recognition Act. I think I'll take this mask off. There we go. What do you think, Goose? Shall we tell them? Okie dokie. Well, I'll just hand you over to my glamorous assistant here, and we can get on with it. Thank you very much. Okay, so here we are again. A new consultation on the Gender Recognition Act. There is some urgency to this because it now has to be done by the 27th of November. So yes, this is a bit of a late entry, but as you can see, I've had puppy minding duties. Okay, as with the first consultation, you do not have to answer all the questions. You can just concentrate on those that are important to you. I'm using the WP UK guidance for this particular video, and they're suggesting 3 main areas that you should concentrate on. But don't forget, if there's anything else in there that is important to you, please fill it out. So their first suggestion is the provision in the Equality Act for single and or separate sex spaces and facilities. Within the Act, are they clear and usable? The big question, do they require reform or further guidance? What's your experience of this? Do you have examples of services being restricted or challenged, changing facilities at leisure centres or within well-known high street clothing stores, women's groups where you're no longer allowed to discuss issues that are about women? What reforms would you like to see, if any, or any guidance in there that you should think there should be? The second thing they suggest we concentrate on are challenges in the interaction of the Gender Reform Act 2004 and the Equality Act 2010, where different language and terms are used in both. The conflation between gender and sex. The idea of what rights actually are protected, opposed to those rights that are being claimed are protected, i.e. self-ID versus having a gender recognition certificate. How has this affected you? Have you got examples in your own life of when the language or the terminology used in either or both of these acts has been used to your detriment? Have you been disciplined at work? Have you lost your job? Have you been removed from somewhere or denied access to somewhere because of this confusion about exactly what's said in each act and how that impacts on the other? Again, do we need, and this is my personal opinion, do we need a legally binding definition of such terms for the purposes of clarity within the legislation? What do you want to see? Link it back to your experience. Anecdotes are all very well and good. We can all tell a story of my wife's brother's, cousin's, sister's, dog's, auntie's, nephew had this happen. But what's happened to you? How has it directly impacted your life? The final one that they would like people to focus on is spousal consent, which is an exceptionally important area, I believe. Are you the spouse, partner, civil partner of somebody who's applying for a gender recognition certificate? Do you feel that the provisions within these acts are sufficient? Do they need reforming? Do they need replacing? Do you feel that your rights are reflected within the current legislation? Does it need improvement? How do you feel your rights are considered within the current legislation? Do you have any rights in this? Should you have any rights in this? Again, relate this back to your personal experience. Somebody within your family, as I said earlier, whether it affects you directly or not. This is an opportunity to provide your opinion, your comment and your experience. This is an opportunity offered to you to say whether reform or clearer guidance is needed. And if so, what is that clearer guidance or reform that's required? Now, up until this point, I think it's fairly agreeable that women have more or less been cut out of this discussion to a greater or lesser extent, and the whole thing is being pushed by one side for whatever reason. Don't let this opportunity pass you by where you can put your point of view across. People may have written a blog or published something, some of you may be journalists, I don't know. You can use that evidence, but you must attribute that. Don't use it as your submission. Use it to back up your submission. Have a look on sites like WP UK, Let a Woman Speak, places like that, to help you look at these areas and formulate your thoughts over what you want to say. This isn't just for us now, today. This is for the future generations of women. Do we want in 50 years' time women looking back on this day and saying, but why didn't you do anything? This is your opportunity to do something. Follow in the footsteps of Mary Wollstonecraft, preferably not naked. Write to the government and tell them what you want, how you feel, and your real experiences of life today under the current legislation. Thank you from Goose and I.